Today's video is going to appeal more towards the ham radio operator rather than the electronics hobbyist. We're going to put together this KK1 precision straight key from American Morse equipment. Now, American Morse has several keys and paddles that are really nice on available for sale. This one is actually several years old, probably 6 to 8 years old, and this has never been put together. So my friend Jerry asked me if I'd assemble it for him and thought it might make an interesting video. Well, the first thing you want to do with any kit is take inventory of the parts, make sure that everything is there, and I checked everything here against the parts list on the instruction sheet. It looks like we're all ready to go. Now, there are a couple of areas that need a little bit of deburring that you might want to take care of before you do the assembly, and one is just inside of where the clevis pin gets mounted in here. There was a ream that was put in to kind of precisely size this hole, and it left a little bit of a burr on the inside of where the lever arm goes in. So what I did is I wrapped a piece of 600 grit paper around a piece of circuit board for a nice flat surface, and I ran that inside on both sides to get rid of that burr. Now, of course, you may choose to go through and sand it and polish it a little bit more. I'm going to assemble it as is here, and then we could always take it apart later and clean it up if we want to get rid of some of the machining marks and soften even some more of the edges. The first thing we'll do is mount the contact bar, and that's done by taking the 4 shoulder washers, 2 that I've installed here and the other 2 that go on this side, and firmly press them into the holes. The contact bar gets mounted with 2 screws, one longer screw that goes in the center that will also serve as the contact point for the key, and then the other shorter screw goes in the other hole here, and then the contact bar gets mounted on there. Now, with the contact bar mounted, you may want to take and just polish the end of that screw a little bit with a some emery paper or sandpaper, because that's going to be one of the electrical contacts for when you operate the key. Next, we take the other 1/2 inch long 632 screw and tighten it in through the threaded hole in the back of the base, and this forms the stop for when the key is released, and just snug that up. And next we'll mount the clear plastic paddle to the underside of the operating lever using the remaining 1/4 inch 632 screw. And next we'll get ready to mount the lever to the base. We'll just turn it over, and I'm going to stick the small washer in the counter bore here, and then the end of the return spring into that hole. I'm also going to start the set screw into the top of the base so that we're ready to tighten it up when we turn everything over. Alright, this next part has to be done kind of upside down so the spring doesn't come out of the operating arm here. We want to position the pin in the hole here, and then kind of get everything kind of slid in place with the spring falling into the counter bore on the base. And then once we get it lined up right, we can slide the pin all the way through. And then simply with your fingers kind of centering the pin, make sure that everything operates smoothly. Then you can take the Allen key and tighten up the set screw. And next we put in the 440 contact screw through the top of the lever arm. This screw will form the other end of the contact when you're actually operating the key. And next we'll install the 2 adjustment thumb screws, but first installing these kind of locking nuts onto each of the shafts of each of the thumb screws. Now, one of these is slightly longer than the other. The longer of the 2 goes into the rear hole of the operating arm. We bring that down, and that sets how high the key will return after you finish operating it. And of course, the remaining screw goes into the middle hole, and this one is adjusted to control the spring tension on the arm itself. Now, with those in place, these are really more adjusted by personal feel. How much travel do you want to have when operating the key is controlled by the stop on the rear, and once you get it where you like, you lock down that nut. And then the other one controls how much pressure it takes to operate the key. You can loosen or tighten the amount of pressure on the spring. And again, lock that one down when you got the feel that you'd like to have. Now, the remaining hardware is for the electrical connections. There's a a washer, a thumb screw, and an electrical eyelet for each of the connections, one to the base and one to the contact arm. And of course the last step is simply to install the rubber feet along the bottom. We just peel them off the sheet and position them in the four corners on the bottom of the base. Alright, with that it's done. We can just do a quick little test to be sure everything's going to work fine. Of course, a simple continuity tester on a DMM works just fine to be sure that the key works. This little KK1 from American Morse Products is a nice, fine, small, sturdy little well-built key. And along with many of the other products that they offer for sale, looks like a really nice addition to a your portable operations or even your operations at your main shack. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this little build video, and see you next time.